guys, welcome to the Bluestone Villa and welcome to episode 2 of my Gentle Home Life Reset. This series is a little bit different to a lot of home and life resets that you might be seeing at the moment. It's much more about making space to find or curate small moments of joy in your home life and your home routines. My last episode focused on some mood boosting home decor updates that you can do in these dark winter months, and today's episode I'm going to be looking at some cozy traditions or rituals that I'm really enamored by and hoping to implement a little bit more into my home life in this coming year. If this is your first time visiting the Bluestone Villa, then hello and welcome. My name's Louisa and I share videos on my home and home life from our Victorian fixer-upper. If you visited before, then welcome. Lovely to have you back here, and yeah, regardless of this is your first time or one of many, I'm really excited to have you here on this kind of gentle home life reset journey with me. So I think most of us will be really familiar with the term hygge, which is a Danish term for, I don't actually think that there is a direct translation. I think it essentially is I think it's meant to describe a feeling of kind of coziness, of contentment, of warmth perhaps. I think there's, as I said, I don't think there is a direct translation. But as soon as I learned about this term, I realized that it resonated with me so deeply, because actually that's something that I have definitely felt before. I've felt that feeling before. And I feel like it is a feeling that I am on a constant journey to try and ensure I have at regular intervals across my home life today. So it won't come as any surprise then that I have been, over the last 6 months, following actually a lot of kind of Swedish vloggers on YouTube or Instagram accounts, and I'm just so taken and charmed by the Swedish lifestyle. I think they're meant to be one of the happiest countries in the world. I think a lot of the Scandinavian countries are meant to have really good and high quality lives, and I'm really interested as to why that might be the case and what they're doing from day to day that may be able to support a long and happy life, essentially. And so I've learned across this period of time, they have a very similar word for this, which is mys, and that literally directly translates into the word cozy, or so I've read anyway. And you can essentially make anything mys. You can add it to practically every word from what I've kind of seen and read about, that to make anything a cozy moment, essentially. And I really loved this concept, and so I started to look a little bit more into some of their kind of daily rituals or routines, and there were just a few that I really felt were really lovely moments that I could add into my days going forwards that might just bring me a little bit more joy in my day-to-day life. And so I thought I would share with you today those ones that I'm particularly enamored with, what I've found out about them and how I'm planning to implement them into my life. So the first one is Fika. Now, Fika is the act of taking a break from your kind of daily life and having, say, a coffee or your favorite hot drink, maybe some baked goods, and essentially taking a moment for yourself. I believe it's implemented a lot into Swedish workplaces, and so it's also a time for colleagues to come together and be quite social. So there's quite a community aspect to this as well, and I really enjoyed that idea, because I think breaks are super important across your work day. I think it gives you the headspace and the time to kind of step away, think about something else, and then go back to your computer or whatever it is that you're doing and be a little bit more refreshed and be able to kind of get your head down and carry on. And I don't think enough of us prioritize breaks in our work days. I know absolutely I don't. I can often be sat at my computer eating, and I just don't think that's probably really healthy or that productive as well for some of my work. The other thing I really liked about this is you make it a set time every day, or maybe you don't have to, but I think that's how I would implement it. So I feel like you could implement it at a certain point of every day, and you know that that's something you're going to do. You're going to take that 15-20 minutes for yourself and enjoy something, whether that's a drink, whether that's a baked goods, whether it's both, whether it's a chat with a colleague or a friend or whatever. And I just really love that idea, because it also gives us something to look forward to for the day. And for me, I think that's super important, because I actually work from home full time, and as I said, I can end up just kind of sitting at my computer and eating, not really taking proper breaks to rejuvenate, refresh myself before I get my head back into another bit of work. And I think this just builds in a bit of structure and routine, but a really nice structure and routine that allows me to step away and take a moment for myself before heading back to work. Now, obviously, as I said, because I work from home, I'm not about to be having chit chats with my colleagues in my kitchen. So I think the way that I would implement it or interpret it for my life is, I was thinking that it would be a really great opportunity to light a candle and make myself a nice coffee or a hot chocolate, have some baked goods, or maybe it doesn't have to be kind of a sweet treat. Perhaps it could be something else, maybe something a little bit more healthy if you're kind of trying to be mindful of that as well. I could watch one of my favorite YouTubers, or listen to a podcast, or read a chapter of my book, or even do some kind of like manifestation meditation or something like that. Something that's going to give me the opportunity to really not only step away from my desk, but step away from it with my mind as well. I also love this idea because I really love to kind of like cook and bake, and I quite often feel like I don't do it as much as I might like. So I think it also gives a really nice excuse to make something at the weekend that then you can use throughout the week. I just really love the idea of building this time into my day, and I think that I would really see the benefit of doing so. So it's really something that I'm hoping to implement. I would like to say every day, but it probably realistically isn't going to work out like that, but at least a couple of days a week would be amazing. The next tradition or ritual is called, and forgive me, I'm gonna have to look this up so that I say it right. Friluftsliv, which is a Scandinavian term, and I think it's used by, in Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, I think. And it literally translates to open air living. And essentially it's the idea that you need to get out and be outside and take in nature and have some outdoor living as part of your day-to-day life, which I realise doesn't really directly translate into your home life routine, but hear me out. So essentially, one of the things I am terrible for now I work from home is that I can find that there are days, sometimes entire weeks, that I haven't left my home, and I'm pretty sure that's probably not great for me. So I really want to try and implement more opportunities for me to get outside a bit. Now, the British weather is not particularly appealing, but I'm sure in Sweden the weather isn't particularly appealing either, because it's going to be very, very cold there. So I really liked that this is an all year round tradition for them. This isn't kind of a fair weather tradition. I think I read that in Sweden there's a phrase that they say, which is, there is no bad weather, only bad clothes or bad outfits or something. So I think, you know, essentially what they're saying is, you know, dress for the occasion. Otherwise you're never going to get out. But I thought that the ways I could implement this a little bit actually links really nicely with Fika. As I said, obviously I'd be working from home myself, and so it would just give me an opportunity maybe to take my coffee and my cake outside into my garden, have a little bit of a stroll around the garden. It's all about kind of noticing nature and kind of taking that in and noticing how it changes. So being able to kind of have a bit of a wander around your garden and notice how it changes as the season starts to turn as well, I thought would be really, really lovely. I don't know if it's an age thing, but I definitely find myself staring out the window more often and thinking, oh, like, I wonder what that bird is, or like, oh, what's that squirrel doing over there? So it is something I want to do more. Obviously, I appreciate that not everybody has outdoor space or a garden, so I think other ways you could implement it is simply kind of like walking around the block, as it were, maybe finding a local park. Essentially, those are some of the ways that I am considering trying to input that into my daily life, and maybe make it part of one of those breaks, like Fika, for example. Third and final one is, and forgive me again, but I think it's pronounced Fredagsmys, which literally translates into cozy Fridays. And I mean, who can't get on board with cozy Fridays? Sounds dreamy to me. I really like this concept because I love a Friday night. I think it really defines that kind of end of week to kind of beginning of weekend moment. And I have felt, probably since we entered the pandemic, and now obviously post-pandemic and kind of with my life as it is now, that I really have felt that, like, that's kind of melted away a little bit because I'm here all the time, and what we're doing on a Friday night is really not very dissimilar to what we do other nights in the week. I can also a lot of the time feel pretty burnt out by the time it gets to Friday, and already kind of working myself up with what else I need to do across the weekend, whether it's kind of DIY, whether it's filming YouTube videos, etc, etc. And so that can kind of put me off of like wanting to cook and what have you, and so Friday nights become this kind of bit of a ugh. So I really like the idea of kind of making a bit more of a thing about it, maybe lighting a few more candles, you know, watching a film and taking joy in picking out that film. I also really loved the idea. We tend to get takeout a lot on a Friday, I have to admit, because I quite frankly can't be bothered to cook by the time it gets around to Friday. And I usually still want to cook something quite quick on a Friday because obviously I have worked all day. But I really liked the idea that actually in Sweden, it's weirdly become like Taco Friday as well. I think there was an advert in the 80s that basically became really symbolic with Fredagsmys, and it turned into a bit of kind of a cultural thing that they would have tacos on a Friday. And James and I love like soft tacos, really would love to have them more at home. And we do go through phases where we might have them once a week and try different fillings and stuff like that. And so I really love this idea that that could become like our Friday thing, and really simple to implement because we could whack certain meats and different bits and pieces into a slow cooker and then let that cook throughout the day. And then it's just a case of kind of plating up with like the different toppings and stuff. So that got me a little bit excited. I really loved the idea about making it more of a ritual and more of a thing. I like the idea of it might be when you invite friends over for dinner. I think typically that's not something that we would usually do on a Friday night because we'd both usually be in London and commuting back home. Now obviously, as I've said, we live in a totally different kind of universe, it feels like. I work from home full time, and typically actually James works from home on a Friday as well. So we don't have that rush of like commute, getting back, maybe wanting to shower, get changed, and having to like cook, make sure the house is presentable and kind of like laying the table and stuff. So I just feel like there's a lot more opportunities opening up to us like that. And yeah, I can kind of just let Fridays pass me by these days, but I really liked the idea of making a little bit more of something out of them going forwards. So those are my 3 cozy traditions that I'm just really quite enamored by and hoping to implement them a little bit this year. Maybe I'll do a bit of an update video later in the year, kind of to reflect back on what I have implemented and what I've enjoyed and what have you. Thank you for joining me today. My next video is going to be about celebrating the small things within your home. So creating more kind of special and celebratory moments out of the mundane, essentially. How I already do it, how I'm hoping to do it a little bit more this year. So if you do want to stick around and join me for the rest of my Gentle Home Life Reset series, or you're interested in renovations, interiors, or our home life in our Victorian home, then please do hit the subscribe button. If you liked today's video, please also give it a thumbs up. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye.